I'm Euge Valovirta, and this one is about Master Effects EQ4H PRO parametric EQ pedal based on a Furman PQ4. I'm gonna do this now a little bit differently than my previous Master Effect videos about their PQ3 and the Puppet Master EQ. So the signal chain is guitar into Marshall 9059, hand wired with a Jose mode, which is now on. It also has a master volume. Then it goes to my oversized Mesa Boogie cabinet with V30s, and I'm miking that now with a one SM57, even though there's a few other microphones, but I'm using the 57. Then the 57 comes here, I'll put a picture, to a Warm Audio's WA273 mic pre, and I have the insert on, as you can see from the picture, and on this mic pre's insert point I now have the EQ. So I'm EQing the sound on the way in like I would usually EQ a guitar sound in the context of a mix, because I say 100% of the guitar sounds you hear on albums, there is processing going on. I mean, that's, everybody knows that, right? Because you record and sound, it's a great sound, good sound. Then when the mixing engineer mixes, I'm mixing engineer too, a professional one. I mixed and mastered many other artists and bands, not just my own bands and my own solo stuff. Anyway, so then you'll EQ the sound, do whatever is needed, that it fits in the mix, that it works with the bass guitar, with the drums, with the vocals. So there's usually some carving out certain frequencies, maybe adding some compression, some reverb, delay, chorusing, whatever you wish. But now I'm planning to do this the old school way, so you basically commit to a sound on the way in. So what I've done here is basically this mic pre, there's no EQ, there's just a low cut. The low cut is at 50 Hz. This mic pre has now become a fully parametric EQ, because this master effect is in the insert point. So the signal goes into the mic pre, then into this, then out from the mic pre to Pro Tools. And the guitar sound is like this. This is now it's bypassed. The guitar sound is pretty good. I've tweaked the amp, to fit this song the best that I can think how it fits. Because the EQ controls on a guitar amplifier, they're very broad, especially on plexi, and they affect to each other. So they're like the bass, which is basically how much low cut and how less. When the bass is cranked, there's hardly any low cut, but there is still a bit. And then the more you dial the bass back, the low cut goes higher. Mids are very broad, like I said, especially on plexi. So you can't really do any surgical EQing, but you can do with this EQ4H PRO. So yes, this is a kind of demo review, but it's also are, I think, very useful tips. I'm screen recording now, so let's now listen this song. I'm gonna play along with it, and then I'll tweak the EQ to that it fits even better in the song, because I've already mixed the drums and bass. I usually mix those first, because that's the foundation of a song, especially in rock and metal. Obviously, when the mix progresses, I most likely will adjust the drums and bass a little, but now I think they are fairly good as they are. Let's play some, and then let's listen. What do I think? Maybe what you think. What should be taken out, or do I need some add to some frequencies to this, or what? it's a little quack quack quack, because with Plexi, even though this has a master volume, you know, when I crank the EQ, it adds more gain, and I like how the Plexi behaves. So the settings are presence 3, bass 7, mids 8, treble 5, preamp volume 9, Jose on, Jose is 3 o'clock, master is around 11 o'clock. The volume 2, the low end volume is bypassed. Okay, now let's engage this EQ. I'm gonna actually play a chord. So I already kind of set this, but let's go through the what you have here. So there's your bass, your low mids, high mids, and treble. And with the bass, you can choose a shelf or a peak, like on a highs, and then you have also a variable Q bandwidth on both. It's kind of like SSL, except you can do more with this, because SSL, the 4000E and 9000 series, they have either a bell or shelf on the lows and highs. But no, you can't change the Q values of the bell or the shelf. With 4000G, there's only bell, only shelf on lows and highs. I usually use 4000E or 4000G. Lately I've been favoring the 4000G a lot on my mixes. So I have set this to shelf, and let's tweak this so you listen here. And then there's the level, how much in. So the overload is peaking a little bit, I think. Then I hit really hard, that's fine. And then there's EQ in and out. What we hear now when this is bypassed, it's a little quack 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 there because of the mid boost to add more. I like how the Plexi behaves, and I really like the sound solo. But in the mix, like you heard, it was a little quack quack. It was masking a little kind of bass and whatever. So let's adjust the low mids. So find the quaff frequency. There. And then Q. There. Let's cut it out. A bit more scoop, then the lows. Let's add a tiny bit of fullness. We cut out the mids, low mids where there is also lows, so I'm compensating that by adding something. I can see the numbers, you can probably see, but let's try peak. That's a bit too prominent. Shelf is better. I think it's 80 Hz, 90 probably. The bandwidth I think is pretty cool. Then let's check out the upper mids. Because there's this. Okay. Let's find the nastiest. There, let's take that out a bit. Okay, now the sound became a bit dull, but there's none of that ear piercing stuff. Then let's add some top. Peak is too prominent. Pretty much always use a shelf on highs and many times on lows too. That's like smoother. Or if I want more aggressive, then it's peak. Yeah, that air, probably 8K I would say. Yeah, around. Yeah, then it's bypass this. Now there is brightness, nice airy top without the a bit harsh upper mids. There's low and fullness without the boomy, boxy lower mids. Okay, now let's play and let's listen how it works now in the context. A lot better, I think. Now the bass was more clear, but I think there was a bit too much low end, so I think I don't need to boost any low end. Let's tweak this in the context. A heavy riff. Yeah, now the bass is even more clear because bass takes care of the low end. So I actually ended up cutting the lows. Okay, now I think we have a pretty good sound. So what I'll do now is I record this rhythm guitar track. Like that. Now there's rhythm guitars recorded. Then I'm going to consolidate this, move this to a right place, then record the left guitar and the solo, and I'm gonna pan this one to the left so I can hear. Let's listen the levels. Yes. Now let's record the left guitar. great. That was it. That was one tiny mistake, but whatever. Okay, and then let's bypass all of these. This I'm gonna keep on the 4000E, but there's nothing going on. It's just for the color. And let's listen how this sounds now. Let's check the click off. Now this is without any processing, not even a multiband compressor. Sounds really good. I don't think maybe that a little bit, so let's tweak the multiband compressor. It's changing just the low mids a little bit because there's two guitars, so there's more energy in there. Let's see if the Soothe does anything, remarkable. Yeah, I think it adds certain thing because the cymbals, there's a lot of energy in that area. Now with the Soothe, I'm kind of reducing it whenever there is energy in that upper mid area. So this works fine. The Pro Q4, I mean, well, here is a couple of whistling points. Let's see. Well, maybe those, it doesn't really matter. In the context of a mix, there's hardly any difference. But I leave them on. I think it smoothens out a little bit, especially if you're listening really loud. There can be some whistling stuff. So yeah, that's the processing. So Soothe multiband compressor only affecting the lower mids, and then notching out a couple of frequencies that happens with real cabs and mics. There's some ringing, just like -3 dB with a very 4 dB with a very narrow Q, and that's it. This is going to guitar room and AMS delay, so let's actually see if those are doing anything. Can't remember where I had them. So this dimension D and the AMS delay, it's set to very short, 80 milliseconds. Those basically just widen the guitars. And the room, which is this Universal Audio Sound City Studios room, it's just like my room mic. Because like I said, I only used a single 57 closed mic. So that's the processing. So there's basically no EQ at all on these tracks. Everything is bypassed. There's only filtering of couple of certain areas, upper mids, 2 in the high area, 6000, and then multiband compression. And it's not to change the sound, it's just that with these things, this guitar, works better with the drums and bass. And let's move my lead guitar to the lead guitar track. Here. And then here I was pretty much on time. Nice. Because here I have this sense, it goes already to a, let's bypass this EQ2, let's pass it to default, so there's nothing, I don't need any low and high cut because I did those with the ME4. So there's H3000, dual delay, lexicon, circular delay times 3. And compression. Just basically do like 1-2 dB of compression, just evening it out a bit. And there you have it. You know, when you record the sound on the way in, the mixing is a lot easier. And, you know, I don't know how long it took me to mix these guitars to fit this track. A few minutes. So, yeah, that's a very, very good EQ. I like it a lot. 4 bands. Kind of like on SSL, there's high bands. On the G, it's only shelf. The low band is only shelf. Here it's shelf or bell. Then the middle, lower mids, and higher mids here than and on the SSL. And of course, you can use this after your IR loader or whatever. So if you have a amplifier or modeler or whatever, you can put this after a modeler. After the amplifier, you know, after your load box or your IR loader, and then shape your IRs the same way than I shaped the, you know, real IR, a real cabinet with the real speakers and real microphones. So yeah, this obviously works in that scenario too. Conclusion, I think this is great EQ and it works in front of the amp also. But there's a bunch of videos where people use this as a boost. And I did my video about the PQ3 Master Effects, that was called EQ, whatever it was called. Link there to the video where I was using it as a boost in front of the amp to shape the sound going into the amp and also in an effect loop. So please check out that video because it's pretty much, this is kind of like the 4-band version of that PQ3, which is a 3-band, but the principles are the same. All right. Hey, hopefully you found this interesting and informative, and maybe you even learned something about recording and mixing and dialing sounds in general. Links to the Master Effects website to the description below. Strong recommendation. I have several of their pedals and they're all amazing. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye.